Let me show you the journey home from the farm store. The first time we got chickens, we went to the local farm store. Fast forward from that, we went, from getting just a couple of chickens to having about 50 of them. And then due to some circumstances in our life, we had to move away from what was a farm and move into a more of a neighborhood. And so we have a limited amount of chickens that we can have. We've always really enjoyed going to the store to get them. I have fun picking them out and getting to look at them and seeing what breeds are in the store. I think the first time we got them, we picked out just like 4 or 6, something like that. And ever since then, we've just had a really fun time having them in the backyard. We've gone from having a really big flock to having them in the backyard, which feels more like they're pets and you get to name them. So in order to be ready to have chicks and to bring them home from the store, you want to make sure you have some sort of bedding. I generally go for pine shavings. I know there are many other options out there, but these are readily available. And then you want to make sure you have something to keep them warm. You can use a light or you can use a warmer, just depending on your situation. But a warmer is great because they can go underneath. And then time to go get those chicks. The nice thing about coming to the farm store is that you can get anything that you might be missing. For example, I did not have a waterer anymore or a feeder, and I needed to pick up some chick feed since I haven't had chicks since last year. So I'm here getting everything I need, and then I'm gonna go get my chicks and be on the way home. And this is where the fun begins. I know, babies, but you're all coming home with me. Honestly, though, I am really excited because the olive eggers are awesome. We're only going like 10 minutes away, so it's gonna be a short ride. It'll be quick. That's why I love coming to the store to get them. Hello! Oh, they're so sweet. Okay. And we're home. Thirsty. So I selected Rhode Island Reds and Olive Eggers. They are very friendly with kids. So that's one of the main reasons since we have kids. Another reason is definitely the egg color. With the Olive Eggers, you're gonna get kind of a dark green egg. And with the Rhode Island Reds, you're gonna get more of like that pink and red color. They're definitely some of my favorites and probably have more of that personality that you're looking for when it comes to having chickens with kids. And as far as production, they lay pretty much all year, and they do slow down in the winter when it gets really, really cold and there's not as much light. But otherwise, we're getting them now, and they'll probably start laying around August or September, so we'll have some eggs, and they'll do great that first year. That first winter, they probably won't slow down as much, but I'm super excited to have them and to add them to our backyard. So before moving the chicks into their permanent space, you want to make sure that you have first scoped out the space that you're going to keep them in. And so if you're getting a coop online or you're building a coop, you want to make sure that there is enough space for them. This coop that I have is generally for 6 to 8 chickens. So we have our nesting boxes here, and there are 4, which really is more than necessary, I think, in this situation. Before we move our chicks into the coop, we are going to put some bedding down. And the bedding I'm only going to put down in their actual nesting boxes. They will probably roost for the most part during the nighttime, but they will have that space. So you want to make sure that you are leaving an even layer and that you don't see the bottom of the coop. That way you have enough of that bedding so they can be comfortable, and it just makes it easier for cleaning later. Eventually, later down in the late summer or late fall, they will lay eggs and this will be their space. And so you just want to provide that space. And I will be leaving the doors open throughout the day so that they can get used to their space, but at nighttime I will shut the doors. So they'll have that bedding to keep them warm in case the temperatures do drop towards the middle of the night. And then we have this space where they will roost, these roosting spaces for them. There's plenty of space for the amount of chickens we have. We do have a tray that you can pull out so that you can clean the coop a lot easier. You want to make sure that you're thinking about how it's going to get cleaned up, how easily accessible the eggs are, and how much space the chickens are going to have to actually be in there. Most days I will let them run around in the larger space than just leaving them in there, but if it's a really cold or rainy day, you can just leave them in here and they do have some space to run around. I tend to let my chickens out to roam some. I do have a garden space, so I don't like them to get into the garden too much because my garden's not fenced. So generally when I let them out, I'm in the space and I can kind of watch them and see what they're doing. You have to be mindful of predators. We don't have a lot of predators here in this suburban area. However, we do have some owls that I hear at night, so I just have to keep that in mind and want to make sure that I can shut them in at the end of the day and not leave them out. You never know, you still get some foxes and things like that in town, but we don't really have any coyotes that we have to worry about, so our space is not completely enclosed, just enough to keep our dog out of the space because she would probably be the biggest threat to them. She's come a long way, but if you have a dog, you are going to want to spend some time training that dog so that they get used to your chickens. You want to make sure that you have some sort of shade for those really hot days, so I have placed them near a tree that is in our backyard. That way they can hide from the sun when it gets really hot. We do tend to get up in the hundreds. And so for those really, really hot weeks, we generally like to have a space for them to get cooled down. Here in our space, there is a lot of dirt because we had chickens in the past. We had some older hens last year that we rescued, and then they kind of came to the end of their laying life and got moved out. And so there is actually a lot of space here for dust bathing. So you want to make sure that they do have some dirt to dust bathe. You're going to want to make sure that you can put their water in this space and they have enough room to run. I wanted to make sure that this space was ready well before we had them ready to go. So I had about 4 to 6 weeks to really put this together. We had a different coop and we decided to go with this, and we built it, we put it together ahead of time so we didn't have to worry about all of it all at once. And the chicks are very antsy to get outside. They've gotten so big that they are wanting to get out of their brooder. So when you are ready to move your chicks to their permanent space, some of the things that you want to look for that they have lost their chick feathers, because they will be able to maintain temperature control. And here in Kansas where I'm at, we have our last frost date is not till the middle of April, which is in a few weeks, and you just want to make sure that you're keeping track of the weather as well. But once they lose those baby feathers, I'm going to call them, then they can regulate themselves a lot better, and just visually you can tell they no longer look like chicks. They don't really look like adult hens, but they definitely have more of that adult look. And so in my experience, this is when they're ready. You typically do about 6 to 8 weeks. And again, you have that buffer. Some people keep them longer depending on the weather. I'm very antsy to get them out. Our weather has warmed up. They are wanting to get out, and that you can just tell that they're generally, like, they just get more aggressive because they don't have the space that they need. And so you kind of start to notice that. You guys are so sweet. thank you, Hoovers, for providing the chicks and allowing us to have this exciting time, get those awesome green eggs. So we're just super excited and love the way we can just walk into a store and get our hens and be able to walk out and come home and get all set up.